But there are so many. The topic about habits is very important, but there are so many books about habits, but it's about just method, just but your book is different because you are not only the expert on habits, you are the habits itself. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
thank you.
Yeah, you just
Right.
went through
Yeah.
the habits
And to like
just
use
by
the
yourself.
ideas. Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I think this book is so different totally. After I introduced your book, and then the next day your book is the top bestseller in Korean market.
Wow. The
Yeah.
day after your YouTube
Yeah,
video
after
came out?
yes, right.
That's
yeah.
unbelievable. Thank
That's
you.
I have good news. First one is your video clip has more than 500,000 views and
Wow.
it received 10,000 likes.
Oh,
Right?
hey.
That's the first good news. And the second good news, you didn't know about this. You have many fans in Korea. You didn't know about that, yeah?
That's
And
great.
so you know how many copies were sold in South Korea?
The numbers that I have are 150,000
Yes.
for
150,000 copies. That's
think,
that's
yeah.
huge, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it sounds great to me.
Yeah, compared to population,
Right,
this is
yeah, for
it's
sure.
really
Yeah.
huge number. So if you come to Korea, if you come to Seoul and have a seminar, then I guarantee you, probably thousands of people, a few thousand people come to see you. So
That's
come
crazy.
to Korea,
Yeah,
come to Seoul
that would
and
be
have
fun.
a seminar together.
I would love to. That
Okay.
would be a lot of fun.
That's great.
That'd be great.
안녕하세요 여러분, 여기 지금요 제임스 클리어를 만나러 왔습니다. 그래서 제임스 클리어를 소개해 드릴 텐데 여러분 인사 좀 해주세요. Could you say to hello our viewers?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, it's great to talk to you all.
I let you about the concept of this interview. The interview is a keyword interview. The first keyword is about high school, your high school. So you were a baseball player in high school, but you had received a big surgery. That's sad story. Right. But you overcame all the obstacles and became a writer and an entrepreneur, right? And now you are one of the most famous experts on habits. So tell us how it all happened.
Well, my sophomore year of high school, I had a very serious injury when I was hit in the face with a baseball bat. And it was an accident, but the bat slipped out of my classmate's hands and kind of struck me right between the eyes.
Here?
Yeah, broke my nose, the bone behind my nose, your ethmoid bone, which is like kind of deep inside the skull, shattered both eye sockets. The process of recovering from that was very long and difficult. So it took, I couldn't drive a car for the next 9 months. I had double vision. I had to undergo surgery. I had multiple seizures, 3 seizures that day. Couldn't breathe on my own for a period of time. So that was a time in my life when I had to start small. I had to, I couldn't do a lot, so I had to focus on very tiny habits. And some of them were like going to bed at the same hour each night, or training in the gym consistently, studying and preparing for class at school. And individually, those habits didn't seem very significant. They didn't seem like very much, but they gave me a sense of control over my life again. And I felt like I was able to like recover from the injury.
Okay.
And so that was the first period in my life when I really learned or practiced some of the concepts that now I talk about in Atomic Habits. And at that time, I didn't have a language for it. Like I wouldn't have said, oh, I'm just trying to get 1% better each day. But that was the time when I first had to practice that. So I kind of learned the ideas through practice first. And then I only described them or understood the science of them later.
So let's talk about when you were in university. You said you started your new habits. So you clean up your room, you're going to bed early.
Right.
So it is really small, tiny habits, yeah?
I think that was the time in my life when doing small things, but done over a span of 2 or 3 or 4 years, I started to see how small actions could accumulate, right? How they could,
Accumulate,
how they
okay.
could compound or add up. Why that was important. And I think this is something that a lot of people feel when they try to build a new habit, which is you start small. If you make a change that's just 1% better or so,
Okay.
it feels insignificant on any given day. It doesn't feel like it does anything, right? It's too small to matter is what it feels like. But 2 or 5 or 10 years later, well, then the outcomes can be really powerful. And so I think that was the first time in my life when I kind of saw those long-term outcomes.
That's the most great part. I really like it. So this part. From here to here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I really like this part.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to read this?
Yeah. Okay.
The impact created by a change in your habits is similar to the effect of shifting the route of an airplane by just a few degrees. Imagine you're flying from Los Angeles to New York City. If a pilot leaving from LAX adjusts the heading of the airplane just 3.5 degrees south, you will land in Washington, D.C. instead of New York. Such a small change is barely noticeable at takeoff. The nose of the airplane moves just a few feet. But when magnified across the entire United States, you end up hundreds of miles apart. Similarly, a slight change in your daily habits can guide your life to a very different destination. Making a choice that's 1% better or 1% worse seems insignificant in the moment, but over the span of moments that make up a lifetime, these choices determine the difference between who you are and who you could be. Success is a product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations.
Success is the product of daily habits. It's a beautiful sentence.
Thank you.
The next keyword is about environment.
Oh,
This
okay.
is really impressive to me. So, I have a motivational speaker and then I have many fans in Korea. Most of them are mothers, 30s to 50s.
Okay.
And I've been telling them, just like you, if you want to read a book, then you should have desk first. Your own desk first, not for your husband, not for your kids. So you have to your desk first. You
space where that can happen,
Yes.
yes.
Korean mother, they don't spend any money for them or space for them. So
It's all about the family. And
yeah, it's all about the family. What about the American woman?
I don't know. Let's ask them.
So I totally agree with you. Having a good environment is very important in having a good habit. So tell me more about that.
So this is probably one of the most overlooked factors of our habits and behavior, which is the shape of the physical environment. The items that are on your desk at work or the things in your kitchen counter at home, the way that your living room is laid out. All of those environments influence which behaviors are easy and obvious and simple to do. The truth is most people want to pursue the path of least resistance. Most people want to do the thing that is easy or obvious. And so if you can change the environment so that the good action is the path of least resistance, then you'll find that it's much easier to build a good habit. So, for example, you mentioned having a space where you have the book laid out, right? Well, you're like priming that environment for reading. And so that habit becomes easier there. I have a reader who wanted to practice the guitar more frequently. And so he took his guitar and put it on a stand in the middle of the living room. So that he would pass it 30 times a day. And now, it's more likely
can see that.
Right, exactly. You can do the same thing with your phone. So it's not just physical space, it could also be digital.
Okay.
So for example, when I wanted to build a reading habit, I put my phone, I put Audible and Pocket, which Pocket is an app that allows you to save articles to read. I put those two right in the home bar of my phone. The first thing I saw as soon as I opened it up. Right, so I was like priming that environment to make reading
No
more
Netflix.
obvious happen. Right, yes, not Netflix.
No Netflix there. Okay.
The thing that's helpful about that, habits are tied to a context. Like they get every habit is linked to an environment or a context.
Okay.
And so by creating a space that you did not have before, you now have created a context where that habit can live. Whereas if you don't have that space, then you're kind of like trying to find ways to fit it in, and there's no obvious place where it lives. Having a very clear environment for that.
You said in your book, you said make it obvious.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the key pieces of environment design is to make the habit obvious in that space.
Okay, so let's talk about the good habits, how to create good habits. So by using your 4 laws.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very, make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. So what about trying a case study of losing weight?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, if you want to build a good habit, you kind of roughly want 4 things to happen. You don't need all 4 at the same time, but the more of them that you have, the more likely it is that you'll succeed. So let's say, for example, you mentioned losing weight.
Okay.
All right, so if we want to lose weight, then we could say, for example, maybe we want to build an exercise habit. So the first part is you want the habit to be obvious. So that means
obvious,
maybe we could move your tennis shoes or your gym bag, like set all that out the night before, right? It could be set out like right next to your bed. I have one reader actually who wore his running clothes to sleep. He wore his exercise clothes to bed so that when he woke up, he would just get out of bed and like go straight into the workout. Make it attractive is the second part. Let's say that you go to bed tonight and you think, all right, tomorrow's going to be the day. I'll set my alarm for 6 a.m. and I'm going to get up and go for a run. But then 6 a.m. comes around and your bed is warm, it's cold outside, like, I'll just press snooze. So instead, you can come back to today and you text a friend and you say, hey, can we meet at the park at 6:30? Well, now 6 a.m. rolls around.
Okay.
Yeah, and your bed is still warm and it's still cold outside. But if you don't get up and go for a run, right, you leave your friend at the park all alone.
Okay.
And so what you've done in that moment is, and this is a concept I talk about in the book, that's what's called a commitment device. So it's a choice you make in the present, to send your friend a text, that locks in or commits you to a behavior in the future. Now I have to get up because I don't want to leave them at the park all alone. And that commitment device makes the habit more attractive than it otherwise would be. It's now more attractive to get up and less attractive to sleep in. So that's an example of the second law. Third law, make it easy. So this could be, honestly, for the first, I recommend what I call the 2-minute rule. So you take your habit and make it 2 minutes or less. Scale it down. So it's like I don't have to run for an hour. I only have to run for 2 minutes. And so by making it so easy, you give yourself permission to sort of master the art of showing up. And sometimes people resist that because it sounds like, it's too small, like that's not going to matter. But a habit must be established before it can be improved. Right? Like you have to make it the standard in your life before you can worry about scaling it up or optimizing it. So make it easy kind of helps you do that. And then the last one is make it satisfying. And this is really just about finding some kind of immediate, that's the key. It has to be an immediate reward. It's something that happens right in the moment. You want to feel good right when you do the habit. So, for example, if you go for a run, maybe you reward yourself with a bubble bath or something like that. And so now you immediately have like a feeling of pleasure associated with the action. The key is you don't want to choose a reward that conflicts with the identity you're trying to build. So if you go for a run, but then you reward yourself with ice cream, then you're kind of like casting a vote for 2 different things, right? It's like they're conflicting. Whereas taking a bubble bath might be like rewarding yourself in the sense of I'm taking care of my body. And that's what I want to do with running, and it's what I do with the reward. So that's just a quick example of using those 4. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying.
What about meeting boyfriend? He's gonna say, "Wow, you look beautiful." Then you're gonna get satisfied.
That as praise, as a reward.
Okay, yeah.
It works.
That's the best reward. Yeah.
Everybody wants to feel praised, loved, supported, right?
Yeah.
And so that actually, if you're thinking about how can I change the habits of people around me, that's hard to do. But a good strategy in the long run is praise the good, ignore the bad. So the more that you praise somebody for doing the habit that you're hoping to reinforce, the more they're going to associate positive feelings with that.
Okay. Yeah, this one. The system and goal. Right? So many people think achieving a goal is the best way to be successful.
Right.
But you said, no, it's not.
Well,
just forget about the goal. The system is very important, more important than the goal.
So first, let me say, I used to set goals for all kinds of things, right? I had a lot of goals. I would set goals in school or in the gym or in my business.
Yes.
And I realized at some point that sometimes I would achieve the goal and other times I would not. And so clearly having a goal was not the thing that was determining if I was making progress or not.
Okay.
So I had to ask myself, what was it? And the conclusion I came to is that the system is what drives the outcome, not the goal. And I would define your system as the collection of daily habits that you follow. So that's your system. Your goal is the desired outcome that you want. And ultimately, you want the two to be aligned, right? You want your desired outcome and your daily habits to match up.
Okay.
And if there is ever a gap between your daily habits and your desired outcome, if there's ever a gap between your system and your goal, the system will always win, right? Like it doesn't matter what the goal is.
right.
You will always
Yeah.
get the outcome that the system is designed for. In fact, we could say that your current your current system is perfectly designed to deliver your current results.
Okay.
So whatever outcome you have right now, it's a product of the habits that you and the system that you're following. And so this is why I say in the book, like, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
Yeah.
It does not
Is that-
matter
is
how
that-
ambitious your vision is, your results will always fall to whatever the daily habits are that you're repeating. And so ultimately, we all think or feel so badly that we want our results to change. We want to lose weight or to make more money or to reduce stress.
We're learning English. Yeah.
Yes, or learn English or whatever the
Yeah.
goal is, right?
Yeah.
We all want these results, but the truth is that the results are not the thing that needs to change. It's the system that precedes the results. It's the habits that come before the outcome. That's what actually needs to change. And then the results will change naturally.
So my goal is speaking English fluently.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, that's the goal. But the system is more important. So I set up my system, not the goal.
Right.
So I got up early in the morning, and then I made highlight. That's the highlight for my English. So I studied 2 hours every in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah,
And that system, that
that's the
collection of
system.
habits will ultimately lead to
Yeah.
the result that you want.
Yeah,
Right?
you're
That's
gonna
the-
get a result naturally. This is the last keyword.
Okay.
Is identity, who you are.
Your habits are how you embody a particular identity. Like whenever you make your bed, you embody the identity of someone who is clean and organized. Or whenever you study, whenever you study English, you embody the identity of someone who is studious, right? It's part of who you are in that moment. And every action you take is like a vote for the type of person you want to become.
We'll vote.
Right. And so like each time you perform that habit, even if it's only studying for 1 minute, you're casting a small vote for I am studious. Or if you do one push-up, you cast a vote for I don't miss workouts. Or if you write one sentence, you cast a vote for I am a writer. And it's one thing to say I want this. It's something very different to say I am this, right?
Yeah.
And so the ultimately true behavior change is identity change, because once you start to adopt that new identity, once you start to see yourself in that way, you're not even really trying to change anymore. You're just acting in alignment with who I believe I am, right? It's easier to stay motivated. I think ultimately this is the real reason that habits matter. It's not just that habits can get you results like making money or reducing stress or whatever. They can reshape what you believe about yourself. They can make you more confident or reduce self-doubt. They can give you an avenue, a pathway to actually believing something new about who you are and what you stand for. And the way to do that is by building small habits and by casting those votes, because you build up this like body of evidence. There's like this pile of votes to root the new identity and to hold on to. So that I think is like the real reason that habits matter.
So you mean I'm the evidence of what I've done for me, yeah?
Imagine doing the opposite, right? And telling yourself, people say this sometimes. They say like, fake it till you make it. They'll tell you to believe something about yourself, but you don't have evidence for it yet. But we have a word for beliefs that don't have evidence. We call it delusion, right? Like your brain doesn't like this. There's this mismatch between what you're saying and what you're doing. And what I'm arguing is, let's start with the behavior. Let the behavior drive the belief. Because every time you do the action, even if it's just for 1 minute, you cannot deny that in that moment you were being that person, right? It's providing evidence that this is who I truly am. And the first time you do it, or the 10th time you do it, it doesn't change your mind too much. But if you do it 100 times or 1,000 times, you turn around, then at some point you have to admit to yourself, yeah, this is part of who I am. And so it's really the building of the habit that leads to the forging of that identity. Or that
That's
part,
the
that part of your identity.
scary, no?
Yeah.
I'm
And
the
it works-
evidence. Ooh, that's the scary.
It works
yeah.
both ways, right? It works
Yeah.
for both good and bad habits.
Yeah, bad habits
and so,
too,
And this
yeah.
is the dangerous thing about habits, or the challenging thing, which is they can work for you or against you. And I think that's another reason why it's so important to understand the ideas that are in the book, because if you know what a habit is and how it works, then you can be the architect of your habits and not the victim of them. You can like design them to work for you, not against you.
So you said in your book, lagging measure, yeah?
Yeah, right. This comes back to what we were talking about just a minute ago about systems and goals. We want our results to change. We want our identity to change, but most of your results are just a lagging measure of your habits, right? Like your bank account is a lagging measure of your financial habits.
Scary. Oh my God.
Your physical fitness is a lagging measure of your training and eating habits.
I think we talk about the ninth keyword, So I want you one last word. And then talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to write it big
Yeah,
so you can
yeah.
see it? Okay.
Social.
Social.
Okay.
All right.
What is this?
Okay. So
Social.
we're choosing social as the final word because this is a topic that since the book has come out, after it was published, I think is more important than I realized, which is the power of the social environment, the people that surround you, the people that you live and work with, that they have on your habits. Everyone, all of us, are part of multiple tribes. So some of those tribes are large, like what it means to be a Korean, right? And some of them are small, like what it means to be a neighbor on your street, or a member of your local gym, or to attend this school, right? And all of those tribes, large and small, have a set of shared expectations for how to act, a set of normal habits in that group. And the expectations of the tribe often drive our behaviors and actions. And if most people, for most people, if you have to choose between I get to have the habits that I want, but I have to be on my own, or I have to have habits that I don't really love, but I get to belong, most people would choose to be wrong with the crowd than right and by themselves. The desire to belong often overpowers the desire to improve. And the good news is you don't always have to choose between those two. But the key is that you have to look for groups or find tribes. You have to join groups where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Because if it's normal in that group, then sticking to the habit is going to help you fit in. It's going to be a signal to everybody else, hey, I belong, I'm a friend, I get it too. But if it's not normal, then it causes you to be cast out. It causes you to look right. It's very unattractive to stick to a habit if it goes against the grain. If it grinds the social group. And so I think one of the keys for getting a habit to stick in the long run, for staying consistent with it for a long time, is to be in a social group where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Because if you have to fight that, you might be able to do it for a week or maybe a month, but after a while, it becomes very exhausting to try to go against the grain of the expectations of the people around you. And so you really need that social environment working for you if you want the habit to stick.
I think this is a really great topic for your next book.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I like it a lot. I think social environment and status is...
It's very unique, yeah.
It's definitely a good idea.
Wow.
I like it. Good.
It's
Thank
really
you.
great. Yeah. It's nice talking to you.
Yeah, it's nice talking to you as well.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you. I hope you enjoy the book. And please use some of the ideas, share them with your friends. And thank you for listening. It was great to talk to you today.
This for your
Thank you.
wife.
Oh, that's so nice.
The chopsticks, Korean traditional chopsticks.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That is so nice.
Thank you.
So kind.
That's
My
so sweet.
pleasure.
What's
This is my pleasure.
does it say something or
No, no,
flowers?
no.
It's like decorative
It's
flowers.
a flower,
Yeah, yeah.
traditional flower, mewa.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that. That's very
My
nice.
pleasure.